46 years to the day of the miracle on ice. The USA is golden, and Matthew Tkachuk, first Golden Panther.
You're Locked On Panthers, your daily podcast on the Florida Panthers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome into this Sunday, February 22nd edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the nation's #1 sports podcasting network, and it is your team every day. Thank you for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day. I'm Armando Velez from the Hockey News. You can follow me on X at MondoMan12. Joining me on today's edition of the show is Florida Panthers historian Francisco Oporta. You can follow him on X at FLA Cats History. And shout out to the everydayers who come back here and get your daily Florida Panthers and Olympic fix. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Use your profit boost on an NBA future and get entered for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. So, Panther fans, Olympic hockey fans, we had a thriller of a game. It wouldn't be U.S. and Canada a matchup like that if it didn't end in overtime. We saw in Four Nations last year how Canada became victorious 2010 as well, with Sidney Crosby getting the golden goal. But with no Sidney Crosby for Canada, as he took himself out, he didn't feel that he would be his best self if he were to suit up for this one. And after USA got the first one in the first period, later on, Canada scored to tie it from Cale Makar in the second, and then no goals in the third period, and then 3-on-3 overtime. It is Florida native, Florida man, Jack Hughes with the overtime winner to give the United States their first gold medal in the Olympics since 1980 and their first international championship since 1996. And Francisco, man, what a game that we witnessed. I mean, I was wide awake at 6:30 in the morning preparing for this one, just all fired up. I watched Miracle yesterday. And then I also watched the 30 for 30 of Miracle and Men, which told the story from the Soviet side of things to prepare for this one. And man, were we treated to a really tight hockey game, and glad this wasn't a blowout. And really, when you talk about how close this was and really how it was a game of inches and what happened on that breakaway chance on the 3-on-1 from Jack Hughes, it just takes one moment, and Jack Hughes took it with him and made the difference for USA with his brother, Quinn Hughes, who got the game winner in the quarterfinals. What a storybook ending for this US team.
Yeah. It's I already posted while the game was going into overtime. This is probably one of the greatest hockey games to have ever been played. At any point whatsoever in the NHL and in international play. It just had everything, and it had, shades of 2010 as well going into OT. It had all the stakes, and then with the backdrop of the Four Nations from last year and these guys having seen each other before, because both teams were largely made up of the same players. Mm-hmm. And all of that coalesced into this amazing game, this amazing showcase of why the sport of hockey is one of the best sports to watch in the world. And I hope that a ton of new hockey fans were created from this one, because I know in 2010, I became a hockey fan because of that game alone. And this one, I'm hoping, spawned millions of new fans, maybe some that speak a little Italian or something like that, at the very least, because wow, what a show.
Yeah, and those 2010 games happening in Vancouver, and I mean, that was the same time that I really started getting into the sport with the golden goal from Sidney Crosby, and then later on, 2 years later, the Florida Panthers breaking their 12-year drought. But you think about how in this one, the USA had the Canada pinned in their own end really in the first period, but it was a lot of shots that were missed and didn't really connect. And I mean, it was the first goal of the game on the first shot for the USA, where there was a stick lift for the US on Devon Toews, and then Matt Boldy is the one who gets it past the blocker of Jordan Binnington there. And I mean, really the script flipped in the second period, where it was just Canada from there on out. And I mean, you think about different moments of the fact that Connor Hellebuyck coming up big, 2 breakaway stops, one on Connor McDavid in the second period, one on Macklin Celebrini later on in the third, and then that big save that he had on Devon Toews with the stick. Signs of Braden Holtby in the Stanley Cup final in 2018 on Alex Tuck, and then Aiden Hill on Nick Cousins in Game 1 of the 2023 final. Different moments different moments changed the momentum of this one, and also the special teams for both of these teams, where Canada had a 5-on-3 where USA was able to stop, where Brock Faber was on the ice for almost the entirety of that penalty kill, and then the double minor on Sam Bennett for the high stick penalty as well. And USA goes perfect on the penalty kill. Incredible job. You think about roster construction, getting guys like JT Miller, Vincent Trocheck, Dylan Larkin, Brock Nelson, and then guys on the defense of Brock Faber, like I mentioned earlier, Jacob Slavin. And the thing is, USA wasn't winning the faceoff battle neither. That was the great thing about how they still stayed tight around the crease.
Defense wins championships. I mean, the Canadian forward lines are amazing. Like up there, probably the most talented squad of players as far as a forward line that may have been ever put together. But USA Hockey was able to put together a well-rounded team, and that's especially on the defensive end because, I mean, especially that entire second period, where just Canada was just going wave after wave after wave after wave. And you could hear it during the broadcast how much they kept saying the United States was on their heels. The United States was on their heels pretty much that entire second half of the game for the most part. And look, this is probably the most goalie game of all time as well. Yeah. Because Connor Hellebuyck, I mean, yikes. I know they're not going to have a parade for him in Winnipeg, but he should have it in his hometown in the U.S., that's for sure, at the very least, because, man, he definitely earned the gold medal amongst everybody. I mean, and then that iconic photo from above showing just enough of that paddle save to stop that. I mean, yeah, I mean, Canada's team is incredibly formidable, but yeah, the roster construction of the U.S., it seemed like they were willing to put together a team that was had much more chemistry in that sort of sense. Not that the Canadian team didn't have chemistry; those guys were, especially on the offense, they were just moving the puck along like crazy. But you could see that I think every team that played Canada had that in mind, because remember, Canada barely made it out as well in the semis, so they were beatable. They were beatable by those upper echelon teams in international play. And I guess the United States, they especially looked at that Finland game because Canada almost gave it up. Canada almost lost, and I'm sure they looked at tape and were like, okay, we know exactly what we can do. If we can bend but not break, we might be able to do this. But you do have to give credit to Canada because, I mean, really, if you're thinking about it, yeah, a lot of salty Canadian fans, and as Florida Panthers fans, we're very used to seeing that. But yeah, that Canada team, I would say if you played this game 9 times out of 10, they'd probably win those 9 times if it wasn't for Connor Hellebuyck. But hey, I mean, that's my perspective at the very least. I think that Team USA, they got away with a lot there, but gosh, man, there was so much going for the United States as far as storylines outside of the game that it's just like, I don't know how the hockey gods could be like, oh, let's give it to Canada here. No, I think, fantastic game. One of the best games I've seen in hockey probably ever. I mean, there's a lot as a Panthers fan for sure, but it's up there. It's up there in top 5 for me.
No doubt. What's a kilometer? What's a Celsius? I don't know what that is. I know what.
Well, we're Latinos. We should know a little bit about
it. Yeah, a little bit. But it's crazy because you said 9 times out of 10. You quoted exactly kind of like Herb Brooks in the movie Miracle, where he said, "Not tonight, not this game." That's kind of what I think about it when it comes to not only 46 years, but it was also Johnny Jr.'s birthday for Johnny Gaudreau's son. His wife, parents were there carrying the jersey after two of his former teammates and Matthew Tkachuk and Zach Werenski. Amazing what happened there. And also Matthew Tkachuk also provided a great scoring chance for Jack Eichel on the power play right before the USA took a high stick of their own. Jack Hughes drew a high stick and then he went to the box.
Jack Hughes with the emotional roller coaster of a lifetime.
Yeah.
Our own Sam Bennett.
Yeah.
Knocking his teeth out with his stick and man,
with blood.
As much as I was still siding with the USA, I was looking at Sam Bennett and I'm just like, oh my God, he's not going to be let back into Canada after this one if they score on this power play. And lo and behold, Jack Hughes loses his teeth. Then he commits a penalty to kind of negate that power play towards the end, and then scores the game winner. Just an emotional roller coaster of all time there.
What an incredible stick lift by Zach Werenski to set up Jack Hughes as the trailer. And listen, also the sweep out of the zone. Cale Makar on the pinch is what caused that 3-on-1. His momentum was already carrying him towards the circles. And it's just like, that's how that was created. And then, I mean, credit to the USA making high danger opportunities when there wasn't as many Canadian sweaters around on both of their goals. And I mean, the only Canada goal was off a set play, face-off win, D-to-D, when the USA was mostly collapsing in their end and getting their sticks in lanes and everything. So that's really what it came down to, just those little moments whenever there was a set play or a little bit of open ice for the Americans there. Minutes allocation, I mean, it's been like this all tournament long. The Panthers players on Canada really didn't get a lot of them, but it was more balanced on the USA side. I mean, I spoke about those fourth liner forwards earlier about just a lot of them getting over 10 minutes. While a lot of them
didn't come into the game until 10 minutes into the first.
Yeah, so it took a long time for him to get on the ice there. So that's hey, you got to give credit to Bill Guerin for selecting the lineup, and then Mike Sullivan for putting them in the best situations to win. But we got a lot more to get to on this edition of the show. We're going to talk about the celebration. We're going to talk about maybe some awkward moments for some Americans going back to their Canadian teams. But we'll just talk more about just unsung heroes and just heroes overall. We'll discuss that next year on the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. And ever wanted to experience the NBA Finals live and in person? FanDuel is giving you the chance to turn that dream into reality with their NBA sweepstakes. Here's how it works. Use your profit boost on any NBA future and you'll automatically be entered for a shot to win an NBA Finals trip for two. That's right. Flights, tickets, and the whole experience. If you're already looking at the board and thinking about which teams can make a deep run, this is the perfect time to lock it in. I love futures this time of year, whether it's picking a team to win the championship or grab a conference title. It adds an extra layer of excitement to every game down the stretch. And now, not only can your picks cash, but it could also send you to the finals. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Use your profit boost on an NBA future and get entered for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. And I'd like to thank you guys once again for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day. And once again, make sure you join our Everydayer Club. It's an ad-free audio with access to a group chat, Discord, and more. Use Deadline ahead of the trade deadline for 1 month free. And you can tap the link in the show notes to learn more. Back here on the second segment here with Florida Panthers historian Francisco Oporta, joining me on this edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast as we discuss Team USA's 2-1 win over Canada. And 2-1 win for the women, 2-1 win for the men. Different type of win for both of them, as it was a shorthanded goal for Canada for the women, and then one with the extra attacker, and then the one for in overtime for both of them. But both of them at even strength for USA and Canada for the men's side of things. But I mentioned the gold medal celebration that you brought the family, the jersey and everything. But it's funny because there's a little bit of awkward moments with Connor Hellebuyck, Brady Tkachuk, and Austin Matthews, two captains of Canadian teams, the best goaltender in the league, where it's funny because Connor Hellebuyck isn't as athletic as Jordan Binnington, I would say, which one of the differences that USA made as far as later on in the game was the fact that when they would shoot in from when they would gain either the red line or whether it was the blue, Jordan Binnington wasn't stopping those pucks in the trapezoid as much in the third period as he was in the second period. So I really thought that was a big difference. But those guys for USA are going back to their Canadian teams, and it's just like the social media part of it, congratulating them. That brings a little bit of comedy there.
It does. I went to see the Winnipeg Jets page because it was very obvious. I mean, Connor Hellebuyck was the X factor for Team USA for this one, but they kind of had like a funny photo of him sitting with his Vezina trophy and then like a Microsoft Paint added gold medal to his chest. So that was pretty funny. The Toronto Maple Leafs, of course, had a post for Austin Matthews, and in the comments below are some Leafs fans that are already salty and saying this should have been a post for tomorrow or something like that. It's like, man, you guys are perennially just victims and losers. I mean, sheesh, you can't get over losing the World Series. Now you got this. I mean, this is just snowballing into some terribleness for Toronto. I don't even know how the Raptors are even doing. But in any case, I think they're okay. They're an okay basketball team. I think this is like kind of fifth or sixth place. But man, like, come on, Leafs fans. He finally won a big one. Okay, just not for you.
Yeah.
Okay. So it is there for, so you can see that. But then again, he did pass up a very, what looked like it seemed to be a golden opportunity. People were criticizing him for that one. But if you look at the play, and there was much a wide open net there if he makes the pass. So I can see why he did it. It wasn't as egregious as the Ben Simmons comparison that people were doing, that he's sitting in front of an empty or an unguarded net there. So it's not as bad as people think, just taking over way out of proportion on social media. But yeah, I mean, the Canadian teams, it's funny, but of course they're going to be appreciative. They're going to honor those guys as soon as they have their first home games when they come back. And once again, great promotion for the sport of hockey and the NHL, sending these guys over. They're really the only league that gets the opportunity to do this, where it's like, hey, you guys enjoyed all of that amazing best on best international hockey. Well, some of these guys are going to be playing right down the line for these playoff races, and those are also going to be excited. And they play the same way all the time. It's not like the NBA where people are sitting out and tanking all the time. So there's a lot of potential here for the NHL to continue to grow as well. I mean, NFL doesn't have this. Major League Baseball has the World Baseball Classic, but it's before the season starts, so it just doesn't have that spice. All right, that heat compared to these heated rivalries. Wink, wink. Of
good one
of international hockey, and just stopping the season for this Olympics. And man, I'm pretty excited going into this, because even as a Panthers fan, it's just like, well, hey, some of our guys rested. We might see Kulikov and Nosek and those guys coming back, and it's like, hey, we got Tkachuk, and Marchand and Luostarinen, the Finns and everybody that got tastes of, once again, hey, high stakes hockey. And it's like, hey, maybe they can transfer this over for the stretch of the regular season and try and see if they can make one last push to punch a ticket to the postseason. So as a Panthers fan, I'm also looking at this kind of optimistically.
Yeah, I am as well. We'll see how much gas they have left in the tank, which that's an episode for another day as far as that. But it's great to go out on top for at least Matthew Tkachuk. And I mean, it's crazy the mindset between silver medals in Olympic hockey versus the different Olympic sports. In most sports, you're happy to get a silver, but not for Canada. It's either gold or bust for them. And you just saw the look on their faces when they were receiving their medals, not even smiling a bit. And then you see the guys who won bronze, because it's the way you finish. I mean, the guys on bronze, you get a game to yourself where you get to, okay, the difference. And you saw the mindset of the Slovaks after about, Yaroslavsky saying, not finishing fourth is as good as finishing last. They didn't medal. That's at the end of the day. So that there's that difference between just going out on top. And for Florida Panthers, on the Finns and the one American, at least the player, came out on top. And of course, let's also talk about the assistant coach and Tuomo Ruutu for Finland, and then Bill Zito and Teddy Richards, head equipment manager and also assistant general manager for Team USA there. So there's also that. But it's also crazy, Francisco, because we talk about Florida connections with Jack and Quinn Hughes, Florida born but raised in Michigan, but then Matthew Tkachuk, which also Team USA, instead of going to New York for their flight, they're coming to Miami. They're flying to Miami. So Matthew Tkachuk could possibly show them around and party maybe in similar places that he did for the Cup.
So I had I also have this crazy idea as well, and because infamously or famously, depending on what fan base you are, the Miami Heat Big Three was conjured up when Team USA in 2008 with Dwayne Wade and LeBron James and Chris Bosh just were like, hey, what if we played together and did this all the time? So there could be a little bit of recruiting there from any of the guys from the 10 Panthers that went and represented their nations and be like, hey, guys, hey, Matthew Tkachuk, let's come down to Miami. We'll head down to my loft in Fort Lauderdale and just be like, hey, guys, it's like this all the time during the season.
Like, you get to go to the rink and be in warm weather, and
we got some golf carts here to the practice facility, and if we can work our way around, the salary cap and try and find a way that we all get paid and
everybody eats.
Yeah, no, and hey, no income tax.
Yeah.
There you go. Just to throw it out to all the Canadians that are really salty about that one too.
No doubt. Also, I do. It's also other cool storylines about just childhood friends growing up together and getting medals. In this one, for example, Zach Werenski and Dylan Larkin grew up together in Michigan. Also, other Michigan natives in Kyle Connor Hellebuyck, and then I mentioned the Hughes brothers who were raised there but born in Florida. There, Pittsburgh guys and JT Miller and Vincent Trocheck, Arizona boys and Tage Thompson and Austin Matthews, which I hope that this is a good celebration for Arizona, and I hope this gives them hope that the NHL will eventually go back there. Massachusetts, Jack Eichel, Noah Hannafin, Matt Boldy, and then Minnesota, the state of hockey. 5 guys from there in Brock Faber, Jake Gensel, Jackson Lacombe, Brock Nelson, Jake Oninger. I mean, these hockey hotbeds they have their own celebration. Let's not forget the US NTDP that is placed in Michigan, where the registration for this sport is just going to go up, and people are going to want to really try harder to get to the program. And I mean, even they spoke in the semifinal game. Yeah, it's not for everybody as far as their path to the NHL, but this is great as far as the amount of people who are going to try out to try to get there and eventually get into World Junior Championships, even the tournaments before of the U18s, and then giving themselves a better chance to play in college hockey, get a good NIL deal, and then a good draft status.
Yeah, these guys have been playing together a lot since they were kids.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the U.S. National Team Development Program, college hockey. There's a lot of avenues for hockey development all over the place. Some guys, they went to the Canadian Hockey League as well. Some guys played through that too, being Americans up there as well. So there's lots of ways that these guys have come together, of course, played together growing up through the World Junior Championships as well. So seeing these guys, this generation of players reaching the pinnacle of what they've been building towards and probably have been playing towards since they were juniors all the way up here is I mean, it's satisfying because it's once again another journey. If you had to follow one team, okay, Team USA, if you're diehard as far as international play, these guys have been together so long, and it's here now. So once again, great for the sport of hockey in general, not just for USA, but everywhere else too. So hopefully Once again, we're seeing new hockey players, and not just those hockey hotbeds, but everywhere else as well.
Yeah, and for those Florida Panther fans, this comes at a great time where you're coming off the back-to-back championships. You see one of your own in Matthew Tkachuk getting one, so it's like this is only going to create more of that momentum
The
for
good
South Florida.
times keep rolling for the Florida Panthers. I posted since 2020. I mean, we've had 6 straight seasons of playoffs. Okay, hosted the All-Star game, hosted the Winter Classic. Barkov's won 3 Selkies. Matthew Tkachuk won the All-Star game MVP. The 3 conference championships, 2 division titles, the 2 Stanley Cups, and now 10 Panthers go to the Olympics and 7 of them medal. I mean, this is amazing. I mean, even if they don't make the playoffs this season, we're still within. There's still some good things to talk about this very season itself because of something like this, because of the Winter Classic, and you're looking at other teams that have retooled, like the Penguins and Lightning. It's like, hey, the Panthers can take an off year and then come back stronger next year. So it just keeps going as a Panthers fan. And like I said, I posted every single Panthers player that has represented their countries in the Olympics. And it's there were some dire straits mid 2000s up to 2014. They sent 1 or 2 guys every season. It was just, but now look at the talent that this team has brought forth.
And let's continue that conversation where I'm going to allow you to cook a little bit on who has won bronze, silver, and now gold in an actual Florida Panthers sweater. We are going to talk about that on the other side of the break here on the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. And there's nothing like an NBA arena, the crowd, the energy, the moment. Getting tickets, though, that part hasn't always been so simple. That's why Game Time has become the go-to app for scoring tickets fast without the hassle, and it puts the advantage back where it belongs, with the fans. I pulled up the Game Time app, picked an upcoming NBA game, and had tickets locked in within minutes. I love seeing the all-in prices up front, no surprise fees at checkout, being able to see the view from the seat before buying made the decision easy. Zone deal stood out. Choose the section, Game Time picks the seat, and you save. Great last-minute options, too, with NBA tickets showing up at solid prices. Everything feels quick, intuitive, and stress-free from start to finish. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off of your first purchase. That's LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. And remember, it's GameTime.co, not GameTime.com. Third and final segment here on this Sunday, February 22nd edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Thank you once again for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day. Wrapping up these Olympics where the USA defeated Canada by a final score of 2-1 in 3-on-3 overtime. And there's a little bit of Florida Panthers history that we witnessed here, as now there are multiple names who have won bronze, silver, and now for the first time, gold in a Florida Panthers sweater. So I'm going to give the floor to Francisco on this one to just name all the names who have won bronze, silver, and gold, starting with bronze. So the floor is yours, my friend, as someone who's done the research.
So, yeah, some of them are not as memorable to a lot of Panthers fans unless you're super diehard. And some of them, of course, are some of the more iconic Florida Panthers that have been out there. So as far as bronze, so Eetu Luostarinen, Anton Lundell, and Nico Mikkola as part of Finland have joined their fellow Finn, Alexander Barkov, Rostislav Olesh from the Czech Republic,
2006.
And Esa Tikkanen, another fellow Finn,
1998,
and the Bure brothers, Pavel and Valery, for Russia in 2002. There you go. As the only Panthers players that won bronze at the Olympic Games. Okay. Unfortunately for our silver medalists, they're not feeling too good about it right now. But right now, Brad Marchand, Sam Reinhart, and Sam Bennett have joined just one Panthers player before, Olli Jokinen, Finland, as silver medalists there from 2006. Okay. And then finally, the lone gold medalist is Matthew Tkachuk for the first time in Florida Panthers history. Florida Panthers player has won the gold. And of course, joined by Teddy Richards and Bill Zito as part of the staff as well. So just once again, we're in the good times. This is the good part of Florida Panthers history of after so much turmoil, after so much disappointment, we can, even in a down year, we can look towards something positive. And that's just the beauty of this era of Panthers history.
This adds on to the, no pun intended, golden era of the Panthers, and with Matthew Tkachuk being the first Golden Panther, which shout out to both of our alma mater, FIU, which they used to be called the FIU Golden Panthers when they had the logo with the Mad Panther with the one hand reaching. Now it's just the same thing with the open mouth now. But just the fact that let's just talk about Matthew Tkachuk and everything that he's worked for, delaying the surgery to at least get into the Stanley Cup playoffs at least and finish the job, being a point per game player and getting to GWG in Game 6 this year, even though Reinhart got the 4 goals for the Panthers, but also just the opportunity to be back on time, play a few games. We wanted to see him return in the Winter Classic, which the medical staff did right by the team. They did it right by him, getting him back on that game on January 19th against the Sharks. And just the fact that he didn't score a goal. He was still a plus player on Team USA. He was still effective on the net front for the power play for them as well. And the antics that he puts on the ice about him and his brother just being the physicality that they brought. I mean, not as much accounting stats, but I mean, the other pair of brothers really got those for Team USA. It was more of Brady that was doing that as far as the brothers, but still, the fact that Matthew Tkachuk was still as affected, he wasn't a liability whatsoever for Team USA.
He's just a winner. What can we say? Completely changed the makeup of the Florida Panthers once he was acquired, and just the bane of Connor McDavid's existence right now.
Yeah,
because it just continues on and on.
Yeah, and you think for Matthew Tkachuk and just being in those big games over and over again, and just the fact that his team has been able to power through. I mean, yeah, there was that chirp on Leon Draisaitl a few games ago on the bridesmaid, never the bride. I'm not sure how much of that the talking he did to McDavid specifically. McDavid usually ignores that stuff and doesn't chirp back at guys, but still, the fact that he was in it when it came to just his personality, and that makes such a difference when it comes to just heartbeats of a team. He doesn't wear a C with the Florida Panthers. He has an A in both his club and national team, so that just speaks to how much they value a guy like this as well. So it's not just culture changing for the club team, but the national team as well. Would they have been in this position without him? It's really hard to predict, really. But I mean, thankfully, one of our own got to get glory once again.
Yeah, I mean, there's not really much more we can say about it. I mean, it means a lot to him. You can see it with just the way he acts, the way he just lovingly carries the Gaudreau jersey all over the place, bringing his kids to the ice to take the team photo. It means a ton to him to be this hockey player, just building up this resume, trying to get to a position. Remember, famously, his dad is not in the Hockey Hall of Fame, and I think they still feel that as like a slight to their family in that sort of sense. And I think he is like, well, if you're not going to put my dad in, I'm going to go in myself. And he's building that up now with 2 cups and a gold medal, and just continuing on here. So he's been, once again, one of his 19 is definitely going up at Emirates Bank, that's for sure, and he'll be in the U.S. Hockey Hall of Fame for sure as well at this point. So just the winner straight up.
Yeah, and the Panthers did go skating, did skate after the gold medal game, and then Paul Maurice was just asked about Connor Hellebuyck and just how coming up in big games, and he never understood the narrative of why he can't perform. And then look, now you can't really say anything about his play, about coming up big when the ice was tilted in the final 40 minutes for Canada and in their favor. So got to give credit to him. I mean, yeah, Jordan Binnington had his moments in 2019 and in last year's Four Nations, but just both goalies have been able to show that they are worthy, even though Binnington didn't really have to work as much. Connor Hellebuyck. I know that we are not talking about 3 stars or 3 duds of the game, but has to be number 1 star here, right before Jack Hughes and Matt Boldy here.
Yeah, for sure. Once again, Connor McDavid coming out with the consolation prize that he doesn't want, being the tournament MVP, just like his 2024 Conn Smythe there, and the goaltender being the one that everybody's like, well, I think that's the real MVP right there. So so it just continues on, but Connor Hellebuyck, hell of a game for sure, and once again, I hope the Winnipeg Jets fans do the kind of the funny thing where they boo him at the same time cheer him on once he plays his first game back, just because it's much deserved, and I'm sure they appreciate it. And you know, that narrative that Paul Maurice, like, once again said that he can't play in big games, but he definitely has it. I think every goaltender, major goaltender out there, I mean, Sergei Bobrovsky, for even at the beginning of this Panthers run back in 22-23, it wasn't until the playoffs and he had to replace Alex Lyon in that first round that he started this narrative of being big game Bob. So it can change on a dime for players, and maybe this is it. Maybe this is where for Hellebuyck, whether it's with the Jets or some team down the line, where he gets into the postseason and he has the playoff of his lifetime.
Yeah, and coming off a Hart Trophy and a Vezina, 3-time Vezina Trophy winner for Connor Hellebuyck. But now we got to turn the page back to NHL hockey as soon as Wednesday. Panthers are not back in action until Thursday. It's going to take me a little bit to recover from this incredible tournament that we got to witness here. And credit to the NHL for also marketing it as well. And credit to them for not depriving the teams and the players from getting this opportunity, and for us, the fans, to enjoy this as well, because I had the absolute time of my life. I would have win or lose, but obviously this is both of our preference of Team USA coming out on top here. But Francisco, I want to thank you so much for joining me on this edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Tell everybody where they can follow you online. And not only are you done covering an international tournament for hockey, but you have another one coming up. So tell everybody about that.
So after the Cats histories, it's this final stretch for the Florida Panthers. Will they be able to go in and try and punch their ticket to the postseason? Maybe have a little throwback to 22-23 and try and get in at the last hour for that one. But who knows? We'll see. We'll see what happens. Like I said, I don't mind if they pack it in for this one season and then try and come back stronger next season for sure, when most of their guys will hopefully be healthy by then. And as far as the other international tournament at Marlins History, World Baseball Classics is about to start. If you really like this international play, the WBC has also gotten better each and every tournament since its beginning in 2006. And the Marlins are once again going to be a host for this, including and all the way to the championship game. And you guys can follow me for that one too, because that's international play is always exciting. I think, as much as these guys get paid and everything with their club teams, you really see that they throw all of that out the window for things like this. And not a single one of these NHL players thought about their contracts, thought about being healthy for the postseason at all during this tournament. And that's kind of the passion that some people criticize other sports about during the regular season, whether they care or not. And if, as a hockey fan, believe me, these NHL players, they play like this every game for the most part. So if you're a little, disappointed with other sports And whether they care about the regular season, try hockey and see if you like it.
That's a great way to end it. Thank you so much, my friend, and I will see you again very soon. And if you like what you're hearing, please subscribe to the podcast to be notified every single time the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast jumps into your podcast feed. Don't forget to also subscribe to the other shows in the Locked On NHL network, including Locked On NHL, Locked On Fantasy Hockey, Flip Livingstone, and Stu Roden, and Locked On NHL Prospects. Thank you once again for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day. So I'm Armando Velez with Francisco Oporta. And you've been listening to Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, part of Locked On Podcast Network. We're your team every day.